Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see your faces. Obviously, when you do a workshop, people keep their screens off, but a decent number of you've got your screens on, so a lot of real people. Great to see. Um, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Ewan Leach. I'm the Chief Executive of SURF, and I'm on today with my colleague Emma Scott. And today is Emma's gig, really, because the awards are Emma's gig. It's that time of year when we launch the awards for SURF, the Regeneration Awards, and we have just finished looking at last year's just last week, where we examined the winners from 2024 and looked at the shared learning from that. They were all excellent projects. There was a commonality between them, even though they were for quite different things. But there was good things to take away from that, which we'll be writing up and we'll be sharing both with you and with the Scottish Government for some of the barriers that we can see that are repeated, not just between these projects, but repeated year on year, commonly things to do with funding. So the SURF Awards are a joyful event to recognise the great work that happens within communities, but they're also something that we take a lot of learning from and we can use in a policy sense as well. And the purpose of today is to explain a wee bit about the background to applying for a SURF award and what the process is. And if you are thinking about applying for an award, then what it might mean for you. And it's really good to see that we have some previous award winners online today. We also have some previous judges. And we have some of this year's judges who are listening in today as well. And I should confess that before I was with SURF, I was a judge for the SURF Awards for 2 years in the housing category. And as a judge, it was a really pleasurable exercise to do, if not horrible, having to make a decision by choosing only one of the three projects as a finalist. So I think that's it from me today. I don't have to do any housekeeping. Today is a case of just you being able to listen to what we tell you about the awards, and then we have an opportunity for some questions after Emma's spoken, and we're also hearing from some other previous winners as well. But Emma, I will hand over to you.
Thank you, Ewan. So I'm just going to try and get my slides up. So I'll just, while I'm doing that, say that I'm Emma Scott. I'm the Events, Information and Communications Manager at SURF. I'll just try and fix this. Why does it always go across the bit you're trying to use? And I manage the SURF Awards programme. So I'm just going to take you through a wee bit of information about the SURF Awards and about this year's awards categories. And then, as Ewan said, we'll have a chance for some questions. So every year I choose an animal that represents that year's awards, and every year I shoehorn it into the theme of regeneration. So this year, we say goodbye to last year's cute and friendly quokka from Australia, who was living well locally. And we say hello to our little badger here who's in the rain. Now that it's big at the awards workshops, you couldn't quite see it was in the rain, but you can see it's in the rain now. Our chair wanted me to pick something more Scottish. So that's why we've got a badger, and it's Scottish because it's in the rain. So the badger are known to be one of the environmental ecologists because of the way they can manipulate and shift the environment that helps nurture nature and other animals and help them to thrive. And the way I've shoehorned it into regeneration is that we hope that that's done in the same way with planned regeneration activity and good benefits for communities. So you'll be seeing a lot of our little badger over the next few months. So on to the categories. If you have applied before, the 5 categories remain the same as the past few years. Those are improving Scotland's places, housing and regeneration, removing barriers to employability, creative regeneration, and community-led regeneration. So I'll go in now to a wee bit more detail on the categories. The awards, I should say, are jointly delivered in partnership with the Regeneration Unit and the Scottish Government. But 4 out of the 5 categories also have their own sponsors. So Scotland's Towns Partnership are the sponsor of the Improving Scotland's Places category. Creative Scotland are the sponsor of the Creative Regeneration category. The Scottish Procurement Alliance sponsor the Housing and Regeneration category. And the community-led category this year has a sponsor after not last year, and Highlands and Islands Enterprise have come back as a sponsor, but this year in partnership with South of Scotland Enterprise. And we thank all of our sponsors, not only for the investment in the awards, but also the time that they give to the judging process. So on to the categories. So improving Scotland's places. The purpose of that category is to identify, celebrate and share the positive impacts of participative planning and regeneration processes in Scottish places. So that category is, it's for places. We should say it's for, can be a place of, it could be a high street, it could be a town centre, it could be a village. The only thing we out rule is a full city entry. So previous winners of that category include places like Kilmarnock, Irvine, Alloa, and last year Mollendiner, which was led by St Paul's Youth Forum in Glasgow. Our next category is for housing and regeneration, and the purpose is to recognise and promote the achievements of all housing providers and ensuring that their investments are planned and delivered in a way which produces substantial lasting benefits to resident communities and the shared aims of wider regeneration partners. So it's about housing, but not just building housing for housing's sake. It's about the wider impact that has for communities and the benefits that that housing provides. I should say, I thought this was obvious, but in the past couple of years it hasn't been, that this is for physical build housing. So it can be new build housing, it could be retrofit, it could be reuse of an existing building, but it is for a physical build of housing. And I'll go on to a wee bit later on just the kind of time frames around that. Previous winners has included housing in Ulva Ferry, Goat Hill, and Lewis, Staffin and Skye, and last year it was won by Kirkhope Stedding, the reuse of a previously Stedding building in the Scottish borders. The next category is removing barriers to employability, and that category currently doesn't have a sponsor, so if anybody out there wants to sponsor it next year, then we're always up for a chat about that. It is one of our most popular categories. And HIT's presented to a project that supports community regeneration by providing skills and employability support to help people fulfil their potential. This category used to solely focus on youth employability, but for the past 2 years, it has been widened out to all employability initiatives, regardless of age. Previous winners of that category include Working Right, Move On, ABZ Works, the DRC Youth Project, and last year it was won by DFN Project Search, Ninewells, which was based at Ninewells Hospital in Dundee. The creative regeneration category rewards best practice in placing artists, arts and creativity at the heart of place-based community regeneration efforts, increasing the potential of places. Now, this category is the only category this year that the criteria have been tweaked slightly from last year. So if you have applied before, make sure you have a good look at that. It's not been tweaked by a lot, but there is a slightly more place focus on the category. Previous winners of this include Rig Arts, the Glasgow Barons, Bindhorn Bay Arts, and last year was won by Narcherkick in Ayr Town Centre, who were regenerating empty shop units through creative regeneration efforts. So our final category, and usually the most popular, and it is the widest category in terms of who applies, is for community-led regeneration. HIT rewards best practice in a regeneration project which features representatives of a community of place or theme in a leading role. So as I say, this is quite wide in who the winners have been previously, and I should say the application can come in from a public or other third sector support agency, as long as the community are at the heart of making the decisions and reaping the benefits of that project. Previous winners include Dundee International Women's Centre, Bressie Community Development, the Ochiltree Community Hub, and last year it was won by Bute Community Forest. So all of these projects have been doing widely different things, but all having the community at the heart of what they do. So on to the timeline for the awards. So the awards are open today. The application materials are on the SURF website. They close at 5 p.m. on the 1st of September. So there is quite a lengthy gap there for getting your application in. That then goes to the assessment, shortlisting and project visits. So we have 20 independent judges who will assess those, shortlist 3 per category, and then each of the 5 groups will go out and physically visit those 3 projects. And then the awards dinner is on the 4th of December at the Grand Central Hotel, where our government minister will announce the winners of each of the 5 categories. So just a wee bit about how to apply and maybe some do's and don'ts. So the awards are open to all active regeneration projects. And what I said earlier about housing, those completed within 2 years of the closing date. So that's the 1st of September. We ask that you choose the relevant category to you. Each project can only be entered into one category. An organisation can put in multiple applications, but they can only put one project into one category. So what we advise is you really need to read the information paper before going to the application form. The application form will have the criteria, but the information paper has the wider context for each of the categories. So we really can't stress it heavily enough to read that before you apply and make your decision on which category. Once you have decided, you complete the straightforward application form. There's 2 formats for the application form. It comes in, and there's 1 per category, a form for each category. It comes in a Word format and a PDF. The PDF you can write on, it's a writable PDF. The Word format does contain Latin text, which sometimes I get emails about. It's just there for spacing purposes. Just delete it out and put your own text in. What I will say is that, particularly more with the Word one, I get emails saying that the form has broken or it isn't working. We do say 300 words or 200 words for the first part, 300 words for the rest. We don't count the words. As long as it fits in the box and it's in a font that is legible, then it's fine. But if you try to cram 1,000 words into a box for 300 words, that's what breaks the form, and that's why it's not working. So just be mindful of how much text, but no, we don't count the words, but it needs to physically fit in the box. And so the way it's laid out is you're asked to provide a project overview, and then you'll respond to either 5 or 6 criteria, which will be in the information paper and then again printed on the application forms. Each category has some similar criteria, some have widely different depending on the type of project. There's also the option for a video or a web link. Now that isn't essential, you're not judged on that, but it does sometimes help the judges if you're shortlisted coming to the visit period to have a look at that period. But you're not judged on your website, so don't worry if you don't have those things, but if you do, it's good to stick them in. And we do give feedback to anybody that asks if they're not shortlisted. The feedback, though, is based on the judging scores and the scores alone, but we are always happy to send that on if requested. So I'll just finish up now before I hand over to a video from our previous winners. All of the information on the SURF Awards is in a dedicated part of the website. It has its own page for this year's awards where all the application materials will be, and there'll be a recording of this event as well, along with the video from the winners. But there is also a dedicated part that has about 10 years worth of previous awards on there and the shared learning, in case you want to have a look at who's applied before or see what kind of projects have been in there. And I'm always happy to have a chat about the awards. If you're worried about categories or what kind of project you're doing, then you can drop me an email and I'm always happy to arrange a chat about that. So I'm just going to stop sharing this now, and I'm going to hopefully get this film up and working, which I'm not seeing at the moment. I think this is it. No, yes, this is it. Okay, so this is a film that features 5 of our previous winners with some top tips for you and what the SURF Awards meant to them.
My name is Neil Young, CEO at St Paul's Youth Forum and winner of the Improving Places Award. It was tremendous being part of the Surf Award process, tremendous. From the nervousness of writing another application through to the excitement across the community when we found out that we were finalists. We had been involved with surf for a number of years and knew that if we were winners, it would make a difference to our community, elevating it to the elite of the regeneration world in Scotland. It was a real boost for all the team, volunteers and residents that their part of the world had been improved, that things were getting better and their hard work was making an impact and being recognised. My top tips for people applying to the award are to showcase what you are doing, why you are doing it and the difference it is making. If you're lucky enough to be nominated as a finalist, get participants to tell the story and celebrate your journey, as they have so much passion. Even if you're not a finalist, it's a great way to reflect on the fantastic work that's being done and recognise the impact being made across the country. To sum up the Surf Awards in one sentence, change makers, coming together to inspire, celebrate and learn from each other.
Hi, my name's Viv Soares and I'm the Chief Executive at Govan Help. We were delighted to win the Surf Awards for the community-led regeneration category in 2023 for our project, the Govan Pantry. The awards process and being shortlisted and then going on to win created such a great amount of excitement for our team, for not just the staff team but for our volunteers and for all the customers who use the pantry as well. And winning the award for us was just incredible. It meant that the project received recognition for all the value that it creates in the community and for becoming such a vital community asset. So it was amazing for us to get that bit of recognition from the Surf Awards against all the work that we'd done on the project. If I had to give any top tips for anyone who's thinking about applying to surf, I would say just do the application. We had thought about it for a few years and never quite made it to get the application in before the deadline. We literally put the application together in one day, so you can do it. And we literally just told the story about what happened with the project and where it came from and how it developed. We loved the whole process, we loved the judges coming to see us. It was really exciting. They got to meet all our team, they got to meet all our volunteers and hear exactly from them what the project meant to them and how it had impacted their lives. To sum surf up in one sentence, I would definitely say that we've always considered surf to be a really prestigious award in the regeneration sector. So for us to win it was incredible. To be shortlisted was amazing, but to win it was even sweeter.
Being part of the Surf Award process was an honour and an opportunity to showcase the impact of our work. Winning the award validated the effort and dedication put into our project and gave us recognition within the community. My top tip is to clearly demonstrate how your project addresses local needs and has measurable outcomes. Make sure to highlight the tangible benefits it brings to the community. The Surf Awards celebrate and recognise the transformative impact of projects that make a real difference to communities across Scotland.
The Surf Award project and preparing the bid submission made us look back over the 5 years of the project and to look at what the team had actually achieved. Often you just see the issues and the problems in front of you. But it was good to look back and record the journey from this once in a two-generation project being just an idea to it being completed, occupied and ultimately so well received in our community. Winning was also a great buzz for all of those involved. The award ceremony itself was a great night, but those who weren't able to attend were also immensely proud of the national recognition of their achievement. Top tips, I think, involve the team widely in telling their story and engaging with the judges, and I think the enthusiasm of those involved was very important to us and I think was key to our success. The Surf Awards in one sentence, challenging, rewarding, but I think also good fun and ultimately great to win in the end.
Hi, I'm Scott Christie from Working Right. Being part of the Surf Awards process was a really positive experience for Working Right. The application form itself is pretty straightforward, but for me it really came to life during the judging process, as you knew that the judges that were coming out to talk to you about your programme were peers. So you have the chance to talk through the impact on an individual level or on a community level. It was a really positive and validating process for us. Winning the award had a huge impact on our organisation, not least on the ability for us to raise our profile through winning the award, as it's a prestigious award, but also that confidence and validation in what you're doing is right and that you're taking the right approach with it. If I have any top tips for anyone thinking to apply to the awards, I would say go with your gut. Be confident, trust the impact that you're having with the project or in the communities that you're working in, and just go for it. It'll be well worth your time. And even being part of the awards night in December, whether you win or not, is an inspiring and really positive experience. And if I was going to sum up Surf Awards in one sentence, it would be inspiring, full of joy, and really important. Thanks very much and good luck.
So I can sing about the Surf Awards, but you've heard it from the people who have actually been involved. So I'd just like to thank Neil, Viv, Saskia, John and Scott for taking the time to send those films through for me to cobble them together. I'm not a filmmaker, into that film. If you are interested to hear from more winners, later today there will be a chance that film plus last year's film featuring 6 other winners will be put together and it'll be on the Surf website. So I'm just going to bring Ewan back in as well, and we'll open up to any questions that anybody has.
Thanks very much, Emma. I don't know if, Emma, you saw in the chat there was somebody saying that the information paper isn't available on our webpage.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
I will go back. That's a separate box. That's why it's
Yeah.
so well spotted. I will go that.
Yes,
To
it was
be fair,
Nikki.
it shouldn't
Thank you,
even be.
Nikki.
It shouldn't even be on yet. But that's useful. I will go and fix that after this.
We've got a first question from the stove. Hello.
Yeah, I can't help myself. Moise, I won't ask the first question. So yeah, I'm here for Stove, but Angie here from Lift D&G, because it would be even though we have applied before, we might apply again. We're not applying this year. But our question is, so how do you choose across the categories if you're doing quite a lot of different things? So we're particularly thinking about the work that the Stove and Lift are doing with their Art Lab program, which is very much that fits in that creative regeneration. But the whole story of what Lift do, would fit employability, though that's not, because they have their community shop and there's a massive employability story there. Along with their projects, and then there's also that sort of improving places. So, and the community led is sort of like how do you advise people to best choose those categories? And you said, project focus. So is it less about the whole organization and more about like you go, I want to put this project forward?
Do you want me to take this, Ewan,
Yeah.
to start with? So some people put in the full shebang. Some people put in a single project. I think Rig are on here. Rig Arts before came in years ago with one single project, but then come back years later and won again as a whole unit of everything that they done. My advice is to go by the criteria, whichever you can best answer, what you can give your best answer to, because that's what the judges will score on. They'll not score on anything else round about that. They score only on the criteria that's given to them. No prior knowledge, not going on your website, it is only on the criteria. You mentioned the most improved place. That category is a wee bit of an amalgamation of all the kind of categories brought together, because it is about a whole place approach. So there are projects, so like St Paul's Youth Forum, who are very much a community-led project. They do bits of youth work, they do bits of employability, they do creative stuff, they do stuff around bikes, but so they fitted that kind of whole place approach, but they are primarily a community-led youth organisation. So I would have a look at the criteria and see what you think you best fit with. But after that, if you're still kind of between two, I'm happy to have a wider discussion on how that, but it's about where you think you would score the best and focusing in on that criteria, and either choosing to put in one element of what you do or choosing to go in as a whole shebang.
Thank you, Emma. That's really useful. We'll do that.
Good luck. Any other questions? I mean, I would say we've got some judges in the call, but as a judge, so one of the things Emma didn't mention was that the sifting process is done by the judges. It's not SURF. We facilitate this award process. We don't actually engage in the actual judging of it. We outsource that to your peers within the community world and across agencies. And so they actually conduct a SIFT, narrowing it down to the 3 top projects that they want to go and visit. And I would say within the SIFT, you're looking at all levels of this. You're looking at what you're doing, how you're doing it. Are you doing it with people? And who is the beneficiary? Particularly if you get to the point where the judges are coming to visit your project. I can say this honestly, if you go to a project and you don't meet the beneficiaries, you might be thinking, well, why are we here? We want to see the difference that you've made for people as a judge. That's the kind of, you want, the project may look good, but actually meeting beneficiaries across the very different things that are being, the categories that there are, but meeting beneficiaries is a really crucial bit of that. And in your written application form, kind of demonstrating that is important just so that people know that there are beneficiaries involved. It's not just you as a project team. There are other awards for really great project team working. And you could argue Homes for Scotland have just had their awards this year or last week, and some of the projects that won for that, it's about project work around professional teams. That's not what this is about. It's partially what it's about, the team that's delivering it, but it's the team in conjunction with and thinking about the phrase, nothing for us without us, the community's deep engagement within all processes of this. Back to Dumfries.
Nobody else is raising a hand, so so it would be really interesting, when you're talking about sort of number of applications, you were saying like some are more popular than others, and I realize that years will be completely different, but are you able to give a bit of an indication of what type of numbers of applications you got last year, roundabout, for each category?
That'd be off the top of my head. So I think overall we had about, so we're not talking hundreds and hundreds of applications here. We're talking under 100 on a good year. So it's usually, I mean, some categories will get 12, some categories will get 25. It just depends on the community-led category. The other side of that is, so that is popular, as I said, and some categories are really popular one year and then the next year not as popular. It's a weird one that we've never really got a shift on. I say it's because I market one more, but they get marketed kind of equally the same. Community-led has always been kind of strongly popular because it is so wide for various projects to come in, but it does mean when the judges are doing it, they always say you're liking apples with pears. It's quite because everything is different. If you're doing a creative project, yes, you might all be doing different things, but everybody's doing something creative. Employability, everything's doing something around employability. Community-led is somebody that's throwing apple seeds about to grow trees compared to somebody that's got a community centre. It's quite wide.
Brilliant, thank you.
But we're not talking hundreds and hundreds, but you could be up against another 25, 26 applications.
Lisa.
Hi there, thanks. So I work for Scotland's Housing Network, so obviously we're a membership organisation, so we couldn't put anything forward ourselves, but are you happy for us to put it in our newsletter that the SURF Awards are coming up? Yes. And we can promote it with our members? Just to
I will be in touch after this with all of our members, and I know that you are a member of SURF. I will be in touch with our members and partners, asking them if they can promote it, and we actively encourage our partners to promote it through their networks as well.
Right.
We've got
Okay.
people
and
that maybe
brings me on to my next question. Do they need to be a member to submit? They don't. Right. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
We do ask it on the monitoring form, but it's just for monitoring. It's just for us to put a percentage to the government, but we like to reach people that aren't actually our members as well. Yep. So
okay, that's great. Thank you.
We've had more questions this year, Ewan, than last year.
Yes, last year we had none, so maybe we explained it more clearly last year.
Maybe.
Anything else that anybody wants to?
Yes.
You can't. We're going to mark you down. You've asked too many questions. No, I'm joking.
Looking on the website going, oh, okay, well, let's look at the criteria. And this is a really stupid question, but where is the criteria? Because in the links, that's the application.
So the information paper, somebody's pointed out it's not on there because it goes in as a separate box. And this morning, I really shouldn't have been putting any of the papers onto after the event, but I did put them on earlier and that one's been missed. But if you open the application form, the criteria is at the top of each box, and it goes back to the same criteria that will be in the information paper. The only reason we say read the information paper in there is because you'll get a context and a purpose as well, which sets a wider overview for the actual full category.
Okay, thank you.
The criteria is simple. It's not overly complicated. So don't expect to be reading huge masses of text on this. It's
things like need and demonstrate, if it's employability, demonstrate how you remove barriers to employability. So it's pretty much, as some of the winners said, telling your story. Do you have any others?
I have a question.
Oh.
Fire away.
I was wondering what was the reason behind changing the criteria for the creative regeneration, and if that would be useful for us to know in terms of what did you learn and why did you change those criteria?
I've lost you to spotlight you, but I can still hear you. So it wasn't us that changed the criteria, the sponsor changed the criteria, and it has only gently been tweaked to fit more with their remit. Every year we ask the sponsors, I mean, we do have final veto if we don't want it in, but we do say it's a partnership. We do say, do you want to tweak this? And some years, like employability was tweaked a couple of years ago because the feedback from the judges, some of which were working in the employability sector, was that it's not just youth employability they're dealing with post-COVID, it's a wider sector issue. But the creative one, the team within Creative Scotland work more on place-based projects, and they've just changed the wording ever so slightly on that. So it was Creative Scotland's choice to change it, and we agreed with the changes in that. So
okay, thank you.
Anyone else got any questions? I think one of the previous year's winners, one of their comments was about going in, more than one of them actually said it, it's a wee bit like doing a CV. Talk yourself up. I know that at the end of projects, you're tired and you think, oh God, that's all been a disaster. Yes, we've got there, but there's been so many problems getting here. And this is a point of you to look back and think, yes, it's been difficult, but actually we're celebrating now. We're in a really good position. The project is flowering, it's blooming. And so it's about you thinking about it in that mindset. I mean, I want to say, if you ever do, we're going through a recruitment process just now. I'm not saying this is about our recruitment process, but in a previous recruitment process, Americans can really talk themselves up, and we're quite modest in the Celtic countries. And don't be modest. Say what you've achieved in this project. So this is a point of view to reflect on what you've achieved probably over the past 3 or more years, and talk about the really good things that have happened, both for the project but for the people that you're delivering the project for. So it's an opportunity for you to reflect positively on what you're actually doing.
And a lot of the projects that have been through it have said that even if they're not shortlisted or don't win, it's been good for them just to reflect on that and pull that information together, because, as Ewan just said, you're maybe tired and thinking of all the bad stuff, but within that is a lot of good and a lot of joy, and that's the kind of thing we celebrate. Is the kind of, I think one of the previous winners said that the joy of the Surf Awards is it's about celebrating all the good stuff. But we do recognise when we get to the shared learning what the challenges were. But at this point in time, we're looking at all the joyous stuff, all the good stuff.
Yes, one of the runners-up this year in the shared learning project said, "This is not how you should do it. This isn't how you should be delivering local housing. It's not using us." They had delivered local housing, but it was a lot of work for them. And it's at the shared learning point that we kind of want to kind of reflect then on what are the challenges and barriers that people have experienced in their project. But for the application, you're looking at just saying, you might probably, a number of the applications from memory do often say, we overcame barriers to do this. And may specify what those barriers were, or despite significant barriers, we managed to achieve this.
Yeah.
COVID was obviously a significant barrier for everybody, and we're probably still, you could probably still refer to that as a barrier that made things difficult. So that's acknowledged, but it's the good stuff that's come out of it that we're.
I mean, we quite often get a lot of people that say how bad they started from. I think Lochgelly was one of my favourite, that they won for the Most Improved Town, as it was called at the time, and they came from being the Carbuncle Award right through their journey. So they showed where they had started to where they had ended. So reflecting on where you've started, but it's about the good point that you've ended in.
And we say the end point, but we know it's not an end point because it is.
Yes, everything continues.
Forever.
Particularly I'm going to just go back on it. Particularly the place category. It's not about a finished place, a finished product, because no place is ever really finished, is it? Or if it is finished, it will probably change in 5 years' time. So it's about the journey. It's about the journey you're on and where you've got to on that, because that is, as I said, a more overarching category for all kind of small things, that creative bits and employability bits and community-led bits and fixing up buildings. So it is about where you're telling where you're at in that journey, where you've started, where you've come to, but you don't need to be at the final destination. We're not saying it's all bells and whistles, this is a done place. It's about just sharing where you're at on that journey. Because I think that category can seem a bit overwhelming sometimes, but it's about just being on a journey. Just think you don't need to have finished. That's why we changed the name slightly to Improving Scotland's Places rather than Scotland's Most Improved Place, because it's just about making changes.
I have another question, sorry.
Far away, Claire.
Can we apply for a project that is kind of past, not too far away in the past, but that we're hoping to continue, but kind of like just, I guess, relying on more funding to do it? But
So yes.
that is...
So yes, it's open to all active projects and projects that have been completed within 2 years of the 1st of September. So if it's a project that is, and you're obviously waiting on a funding announcement. I should also say as well, some people put things in, or the housing one as well, the judges don't actually come out till October. So if you've got housing and you think, oh, it's not finished by the 1st of September, but everybody will be living in it by October, then you should bear that in mind. That's what I always think of, is that it's the judges don't actually come out until kind of October time.
Yes, but also do remember that delays can happen in construction projects, and we have had judges turn up at sites that are not complete, and they've not been very happy.
No,
because it's not a finished, and that's specific to the housing category. If they don't want to turn up and people aren't living in them yet, with a bit of a caveat around that. But they went to one and there was that one of the houses were not actually finished, which was not clear in the application.
They need to see something. They need to see a physically built thing for the housing category. It needs to be finished.
And I would say if they're not going to meet a resident, you're not going to win. They want to meet a resident who will tell the unvarnished truth, and that can sometimes be very, very funny. And it can also be heartwarming. So I would say that's the whole thing of making sure if you are in the top 3 and you do get a visit, the beneficiaries are the thing that make the difference. Emma and I often kind of judge, what sort of has anybody cried on any of the categories? We view that as a success if some of the judges, even just 1 or 2, have cried, because it can be emotional, because the projects are making a difference to people's lives. And we know that some projects also, the project that won this year in employability, they champion themselves on trying to make their bosses cry, the minister cry, because it's an emotional thing that they're delivering with the beneficiaries of their employability projects in Dundee. And it is, Em and I have been up there. We didn't cry, but it was a really good, positive and moving experience.
It is a project I've cried over before, though, because I know Project Search quite well, and I have cried over it before. So it's a bit of a heart tugger, that one. So the judges like the heart tuggy moments. That's
But expressing emotion is not required.
No. So you don't have to pinch people and things to make them cry. It's fine.
If you don't have something that's going to make them, don't worry, it still applies. But if it's positive, that's the thing. Any other questions before we wrap up? Doesn't look like it. So Emma will add some stuff to the website, and Emma, will you circulate the link again once it's all online after this? I probably shouldn't. I put it in the chat thinking I was being efficient. Sorry, Emma. And we'll share that with you later. And obviously, even though it's not on now, you have a few months to look at this process, and you can come back to us with any questions around criteria or anything else that you want to in advance, knowing that we're not the judges. We can give you some decent advice. But if that's it, it's been lovely to see all your faces, and I hope everyone has a good afternoon and good luck if you're thinking of applying for a SURF award.
Thank you.